Hello and welcome. I am Maggie and I have been a certified and licensed speech language pathologist for the past 15 years. I have worked in 3 different states and in early intervention, private practice, the school setting, and there's one constant that I have seen across all the places I have worked. And that is, unfortunately, there is a lack of carryover between school and home. Parents aren't getting the help they need from professionals to help with their everyday lives. Now, this isn't the SLP's fault or the OT or the physical therapist's fault or the teacher's fault. And it's not that the parents are at fault either and that they don't care. It's just that there's not enough time. There's not that many hours in a day that a provider can work a full caseload, have a life of their own, and be able to be there 24/7 to support parents. Same thing on the parents' end. They're working. They don't always have time to take phone calls or Zoom meetings or parent conferences. So everyone is trying. We all want the best for the children, but unfortunately, due to a lack of time in the day and resources, it just isn't working. Parents are not getting the support that I think they need and deserve. So my hope for this channel is to be able to answer some of your questions and give you practical tips that you can use from a speech language pathologist at home to help increase communication and connection. So today, I'm going to start by answering a question that has been asked of me a lot this year because at the current setting I'm at, we have a lot of little kids getting augmentative and alternative communication devices. And parents are like, what do I do with these things at home? And it's great for me to be like, oh, model it, try it when you're brushing your teeth. And that's it. Where parents want more information. So my hope this video is going to break it down to 5 things that you can do to help build AAC into your everyday routines at home. So stay tuned for tip number 1. Before I get into tip number 1, I want to first explain a little more what augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC, it actually is. For children or adults who are non-speaking at the time, and there are many reasons for this that we're not going to get into today, but if they are non-speaking at this time, an augmentative and alternative communication device is something like this. It goes from very low tech to just pictures to high tech, and this being a communication device. What this does is it augments, it helps support communication. The number one question I get from parents is, but if my child is using this, then he or she won't talk. And that simply isn't true. I get why you would think that, but research shows that using a device or using pictures actually supports the development of vocal speech. It is just another way that your child is able to communicate for the time being to help them be most positive in their environment. So this is what AAC is. This can also look like spelling. A lot of autistic adults or non-speaking individuals that are older now type and they write books and they communicate with voice output and they just type everything that they want to say, and that works for them. Think of people who use sign language. That is another form of speech. It's just not vocal. So we use things all the time like gestures, by pointing, by clapping. We use things to communicate. So why not use an AAC device to help support your child's language? Now, on to tip number 1. We are going to start small. This is the first thing I tell parents. This is like learning a brand new This is like learning a brand new language. If you think of it like sign language, if a baby was born deaf and brought home, you would need to learn sign language before you would be able to teach your child. So this device, really think of it as another language. If you were learning to speak Spanish or to speak a language that you don't currently speak, you would most likely need to learn it and be a little proficient in it to be able to help teach your child. So you're going to start small and play with this. You're going to go into it and figure out,
hello.
How do I say hello? How do I say how I'm feeling?
I'm feeling happy.
How do I ask a question? How do I find things in this device? you're going to want to play around with it and really get to know it. So when you go to model it for your child, you're able to find buttons quickly and you're not like, oh my gosh, where did that go? What do I need to do? Which, don't feel bad if you do that. You will in the beginning. I still do it sometimes. I have kids that are on all different devices and apps. This one happens to be a touch chat app, but if you're interested in learning more about the programs, leave it in the comments below and I'll definitely send you some information. But you have to know how to use it. Some of these buttons are blacked out on mine right now because the child that's using this user isn't ready. This was too much. This was the most I felt that he could handle at this time. We're going to add in the buttons as we see fit, but it was just too much right now. It's also set up in a very specific way. So you have your pronouns over here, your verbs over here, and then your descriptors over here, and it's color-coded. Think of your iPhone. If I went into your iPhone right now and moved some apps, that would really frustrate you because you'd be like, where are my photos? Where did my messaging go? Because we all have motor planning. We know where to look on our phone, when to scroll, what app to open when we want to use it. So this is the same thing. The more you play with it, the more you get familiar with where the vocabulary is, the quicker you can be with making a message. So you're gonna start small and you're gonna pick one time of day. So pick one time a day. That's tip number 2. Pick one time a day to really try it. I would love to be the SLP that says, have it with you all your time, immerse your child in using it, but I know that's not always reasonable for some families. There's other siblings, there's work, there's pets, there's meal prep, there's so much going on. So start small and pick one time a day that you really want to focus on, even if it's 5 minutes, to really put your effort and your time into helping model and having your child use this. It's great to have it out all the time. Some of them come with straps so the child can wear it or a caregiver can wear it. It's great for it to always be accessible, but sometimes I know that's just not true. I'm a mom. I would forget it too. So it's okay. Don't be hard on yourself. Pick a time of day and start small. The tip number 3 we're going to go into is to think about what your child would want to say before you start modeling it. So a lot of times I work with teachers who will say, but I want it to say, put on your shoes. And my response to them is, would your child ever ask to put on his shoes? If he would, because he wants to go outside and that's his cue to go outside, then that's okay. But if you're giving a direction, don't worry about putting it on there. Think about what you envision your child would want to say. So these are going to be requests. These are going to be foods. These are going to be favorite activities, stuffed animals, toys, movies, whatever it may be. And what would they want to say with it? Would they want to say go or stop? Requests are really important, but also teaching your child that you could say stop gives them a lot of power. I, all the time in my sessions, will tell children, if I can get it up,
Stop.
and then my name is on here. So I would, well, let me clear this first. I would say stop, and then people, and then find
Maggie. Stop, Maggie.
so they can tell me to stop, because that's really powerful. Think about how many times a day you tell your child no or stop for them to have the power to say it back to us. That really gets by them. They get that power and that relationship between, hey, I can control my environment a little bit, a lot quicker if there's meaning behind it. So think about what your child would want to say, and then try to think of ways to incorporate it into a routine. So like I said earlier, with brushing your teeth. If your child hates brushing your teeth, throw this one away because that's a battle you're already fighting. But maybe they really like it. I have a lot of kids that like to play in the water. They're very sensory seeking oral motor wise, so they like their toothbrush or a vibrating chewy. So if this is a time, you're gonna do a little structured sabotage. So what that means is if you always take out the toothbrush, have the toothpaste on it, and your child just has to come in and start brushing, you're gonna maybe leave off the toothpaste or maybe have the toothbrush a little bit out of reach. Then you're going to just model on the device. Oh, you need your toothbrush? Oh, you need your toothpaste? Oh, you want the water on? We can use go, stop again. And then play with the water. Be silly about it. Kids love to be silly. So you turn the water on, you hit off, and then you turn the water off. And do this a couple times so then your child might reach out for it and say on, off. We're not going to expect them to right away, but we're going to make sure that we're modeling it a couple times. What about all done? If your child does not like to brush their teeth and you get in there and they brush a little bit,
Stop.
and then say stop and they get to be done, that's pretty powerful for them. All right, a big time is meals. So at dinner time, when you're all home, and do it on the weekend when the weekdays aren't super rushed or something's going on. Have it out, know where the vocabulary is, and then be ready to say, eat, and have your child's favorite foods on there. So if they really love yogurt, you can have yogurt on there. They can ask for more yogurt. They can say all done. They can say stop. They can say drink. And then they can ask for their favorite drinks. Now, if they ask for some soda and you don't give it to them, it's okay to say, no, sorry, we don't have soda tonight. It's water or milk or whatever you guys eat in your house. But these are great times that you're just going to model it for a little while. You're going to model without expectation. Think about how many times we have used a word that a baby hears from the time that they learn it or they actually say it. That's 1 year. Most kids start talking about 1 year old, or if we're doing sign language, that takes a couple, like 6 to 8 months before even a baby that picks it up super quick actually intentionally will do this for more. So you're going to need to model this a lot without expectation. Some kids pick it up really quickly, and that's awesome, but we don't want to be putting pressure on them to use it. So if you want to say, oh, you want juice? Make sure they're watching you. Maybe put your hand a little bit in front of them to make sure that they follow your gaze. If they don't, that's okay. Don't give up. So that's brushing teeth, dinner. What about playing? Do they have a favorite toy that they like to play with? Do they like to line up cars? Then you can do a little bit of sabotage and keep some of the cars, so you're not going to withhold them from them and make them request. But if you have some of their cars, you can go and
Car.
Oh, you're lining up your cars. Oh, here's another one.
Car.
And you're just modeling it. You're not withholding, but you're doing a little bit of sabotage just to draw attention to you and the device in order to join their play. What about if they're going and stopping with the cars? You can go and have them run into a wall and then say stop, because obviously it stopped. Go and stop are huge. You can use them for almost anything. You can also start talking about colors. So then what color is the car? If they're lining them up, you can just be labeling.
Red.
You have a red car, you have a blue car. Oh, here comes the yellow car. And you can start building in some of that vocabulary if you feel you're ready to. Bedtime. Bedtime is another one that you can use just because it's such a routine. Unless bedtime is hard for you, then I'm so sorry. My children were terrible sleepers, so I feel for you. But bedtime, do they have a favorite toy or stuffed animal that might be under the covers or slightly out of reach? So you have to say, oh, where's Gaffy? Where's Gaffy? And you can name Gaffy. And then all of a sudden you find it. You're like, oh, here's Gaffy. And then that would be something that you're able to use just to model it. That way next time when Gaffy's missing, they might be able to say Gaffy. Sorry, Gaffy's not on here. That was my son's stuffed animal when he was younger. So not on the device. Sorry, wasn't prepared for that one. You can also say I love you and good night on these. Even if your child isn't necessarily saying anything and you think that's too far, why? You still tell your child you love them.
I love you.
Teach them how to say it back to you because they might really want to and they just don't have the words yet. And believe me, as a parent and even as a teacher, I've had students say I love you to me and it melts your heart. It just makes you feel like, yes, they're getting it. They're connected and they want to say it. You know your child. You know they love you. Let's give them a way to say it back to you. So now we've done all these little routines. Hopefully something in there is something that resonates with you that you think, okay, yeah, maybe I can have it out and just really try at this time of the day. You always want to have the device available if possible, but you don't want to force it. So there's a lot of research coming out that's showing that hand over hand, which would mean that I would take the kid's hand
Hello.
and make them say hello and make them hit it, is not safe. It's not fair. It can be harming to students. But what I like to do sometimes is if I'm modeling it and a kid kind of reaches for it, I'm not going to push his hand to it, but I might put my hand under his and do hand under hand. That way, if he wants to pull his away, he absolutely can. I'm still going to hit the button. But it's a way to also, for some kids, give them like, okay, I'm ready to use this, but I'm not sure what to hit. This has a lot of vocabulary on it right now, but your SLP, whoever is working with your child, can work with you to set up, what do I think my child is ready for? What am I ready for? Because there's a lot of debate still between speech pathologists on starting with a lot of buttons or less buttons. And I've had parents come in and say, I think that's too much for him. Even though in my gut as an SLP, I think that's important, I'm not going to take that parent's perspective out of question. So I might start using it with lower buttons. And then once that parent gets the hang of it, be like, all right, let's bump it up now, because it's overwhelming. So make sure you're talking to your child's providers or teachers and asking for suggestions or asking for what you think needs to be on there. Your speech pathologist can teach you how to program it. There are a bunch of videos on YouTube already, or if that's something you're interested in, let me know below. But for now, let's get back to it. So we're going to start with the routines. Tip 3 is going on for a long time. So we start with the routines, and then we want to generalize them or carry them over into new environments. So let's go back to if we did go and stop with teeth brushing, made it silly. So the kid were going, if your child is young and you're brushing their teeth, or you could even model it when you yourself are brushing your teeth. So if my child is over here and I'm brushing my teeth, I can be saying,
Go. Stop.
Saying go and stop and showing them how I'm going and then I'm stopping. And then I'm going and then I'm stopping. Your child might love that you're doing it and being silly and actually start using it, not even worrying about them brushing their teeth. That was hard with all those pronouns. Hope you're still with me. But so you do go stop with brushing your teeth. So that's a routine. That's a safe space for your child to learn the go and the stop buttons and where they are and what they do. Now we're going to play go and stop when we go to the car, because we have to go to the grocery store. We're going to school. We're going to do go, 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 stop, go, 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 stop. You get to the car, your child didn't do anything. That's fine. Model it the next day. Maybe they'll start and say go and stop. A lot of my kids, that's how I get my first words out of kids. It's just by being silly and goofy. So don't be afraid at home to just let it go. Don't think of this as something that has to be so structured, because think about language. We talk all the time right off the cuff. So it's okay to be silly with it and to be playful with it. So we did go to the car. Now we're going to do go stop when we're playing. We're going to do go and stop with their snack. So I'm pouring out some goldfish and I'm going to say go, go, go. They only got 3 gold, stop, but there's only 3 goldfish. I'll say, oh, you want more? Let's go. And you can use go. Getting a little more complex as we move through it, but it's still able to work out. Then what about their iPad or their favorite TV show or their tablet, whatever kids have nowadays? And you can do go and stop on that. So you can have a movie on and pause it. Uh-oh, it stopped. Well, so did that. Let's go. And then it stopped. There's a great way, if you're not familiar with it, you can put guided access on tablets, which makes it so that in a couple minutes, a video or whatever they're watching will pause and you have to put in a code. So I'll sometimes do that with students. So, hey, every 2 minutes, they have to come to me and ask for help. This is what I was talking about, this light sabotage, this totally innocent, you'd be like, oh, sorry, I forgot to do it. And they have to say, Mom, make it go, or I need help, or more. And then we keep asking or adding on more words for the children. These are your core words, just as a side note. And this is where we really want to stay, because these have a lot of our actions. This has my turn, your turn, things on it that really your homepage is your best page. All these groups that are on here are important. They're great for kids to have access to, but the core words are where we're going to start and get sentences and longer utterances as we model and the child gets more familiar with it. So remember, if it's on the core board and it's something you can use, do it as much as you can. All right, are you still with me? We're on to tip number 4, which is we're going to acknowledge all communication. So if you're doing go and stop and your child says, oh, for go, I'm not going to say, oh, but you have to hit go. You have to say go on here. No, they said go. Let's go. Or if a child is pointing, you could say, oh, you want your toy? All right, let's get your toy down in wherever the toy is on your device. Or say for my son, his Gaffy. Oh, you see Gaffy? Let me get it. And then I'm going to model Gaffy. I'm going to acknowledge that he pointed, that he got my attention, and he was showing me something that he wanted. But then I'm also going to model the language. I'm not going to say Gaffy on his device, because that's going to be frustrating and we're not honoring all forms of communications. If a student hits the wrong button, they have key guards for these, but this one doesn't have it. If he hits the wrong button, I'm going to take his word for it. So if he accidentally hits feel, I'll say, oh, you want to go? Let's go. Now, if we had already worked on feelings and he was actually trying to tell me feel, that's where you got to be careful and try to interpret. But if we've just learned go and stop, I'm going to assume that that was just a wrong button push and then just acknowledge, oh, you said it, okay, and then try to model it. So we're going to keep modeling. We're going to acknowledge all forms of communication. That was a quick tip. And finally, tip number 5, we are not going to be hard on ourselves, or you are not going to be hard on yourself. This takes a lot of time. Think about if you were going to learn Spanish or another language that you don't speak, you need to practice it. Your child is going to need to practice it. And so don't rush it. I've had parents contact me. We've been trying it, Maggie. We're doing it for 5 to 10 minutes a day strictly, but he's not interested. He just doesn't want it. That's okay. I know it's frustrating and I'm not trying to downplay that to you, but think about how many words you say a day. Your child just might need more time to understand and take in. I think a lot of times we don't give children credit for how much they understand, for how aware they are of everything going around us. So if you're stressing out about it and you're worried, your child is going to pick up on that and see this as some sort of stressor. So try really hard. Don't be hard on yourself. This is just another way we're going to try. If it doesn't work, we'll try spelling. We'll try other options, but we're not going to give up after a week or 2. And remember, do not move the buttons because that is a motor planning system. That was a lot. Whew. Take a breath. I need to get a drink of water because that was a lot of information. And these are the things I wish I could sit down and have half an hour conversations with parents about what we can do to support. Go into houses and help support you, but there's not enough time. So I'm hoping this video gave you some new ideas and ways that you might be able to incorporate using a device, maybe feel a little less intimidated by it. And also remember to talk to your child's speech language pathologist. If you are on a very long wait list, which I know there are, unfortunately, in my area and across the country, so that's when you can maybe call the service coordinator and say something like, hey, I know I can't get an SLP, but could someone call me and talk about this? And just to give some suggestions and stuff. The providers are very busy and we want to help everyone, but there's just not enough time. So, side note, this will be a good segue actually into it. If there's a question that you've been dying to ask an SLP, please leave it in the comments below. Please subscribe. I would love to make these videos and really help support parents at home with what's going on. I might not have all the answers, but I know a lot of occupational therapists, a lot of physical therapists, a lot of teachers, and have worked with hundreds, I don't even want to know how many kids I've worked with and families, and I will find you the answer, or I will try my best to find you the answer. So if you are interested, if this was a good video for you, if you happen to have an autistic child, check out the playlist also on this channel. I made a whole class about helping you connect with your autistic or neurodivergent child, and it goes over all things regulation, language, play, and behaviors. So if you have a question about one of those, it might already be answered if you check out the playlist in the Compass to True Connection course. But please like and subscribe, and I will hopefully be making more videos for you guys. You got this.